Welcome back to Film Infection. In this video, I'm going to be ranking all of the Star Wars movies from the worst to the best. Let's get right into it. Coming in last place is going to be The Phantom Menace, okay? I just can't stress how much this movie should be in last place, and I really don't understand why anybody puts it higher. Okay, listen, I know a lot of people are mad at The Last Jedi and some of the sequel movies for disrespecting the Star Wars franchise, and I understand that, but when you watch this movie, you cannot, in your right mind, tell me that it is worse than The Last Jedi, okay? I think The Last Jedi is a poorly made film, but this movie is by far worse. This movie is completely drained of any emotion or any drives for any of the characters. Sure, the story might be interesting, but none of the characters actually have any good motivations, so it's always really boring to watch. I guarantee if this movie didn't have such a cool final battle, everybody would put it in last place. Coming in second to last place is going to be The Last Jedi. This is not good, okay? This movie is not good. The only thing that I can say positive about The Last Jedi is that it's a good looking film, okay? Visually speaking, sure, it has some good visuals, but besides that, the story and the characters and the action and the plot, it's all over the place, okay? And it's not well done in any way, okay? And I can't find enjoyment in this film. And the other two sequels, I can sort of like them, okay? Because they do still somewhat respect the Star Wars franchise. They don't piss all over everything that George Lucas did in the past. But this one, okay, I could go on and on and on and blah, 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 and list off a whole bunch of things. But you all saw the movie, okay? You don't need me to explain it to you. It's not good. Just take my word for it, or go see the movie yourself. Coming in at number 9 is going to be The Rise of Skywalker.
Ray who? Ray Skywalker.
I didn't like this movie, okay? I thought it was a horrible way to wrap up the Skywalker saga. I do understand they had a lot to juggle, right? They were trying to literally wrap up 3 trilogies. I do give this movie credit because it goes back to trying to respect the Star Wars franchise, right? You can tell J.J. Abrams is at least somewhat trying to undo what Rian Johnson did to the characters in The Last Jedi. He tries to make Luke more sympathetic again by coming back as a Force ghost and really inspiring Rey. So I appreciated that part of the movie. But I do think this movie has a ton of problems. It had a big job, but it could have at least done some things better. Coming in at number 8 is Attack of the Clones. I love this movie, okay? I really like it, but I don't think it's good, okay? And I don't think anybody in their right mind can actually say that it's good. It's a very poorly made film. The story is conveyed to the audience in a very horrible way. None of the characters, like in The Phantom Menace, have any deep emotional drive for what they're doing. The romance between Anakin and Padme is not very well done. But the thing for me that saves this movie from being in last place is the story. Okay, while the story is not conveyed well to everybody, it introduces the most Star Wars lore, and it has the most, original ideas that really expand the universe around just the original trilogy. I do really have to respect how it just builds a bigger and better world for Star Wars, okay? And in a certain way, it sort of makes me enjoy the original trilogy more when I'm watching it, because I know there's just so much more out there, right? And this movie also sets up so many more possibilities for Disney Plus shows and future movies, right? It just expands everything that had already been introduced in Star Wars, okay? Even though it doesn't do it in a very good way, I have to respect that it at least does it. Coming in at number 7 is gonna be Solo, okay? This movie gets way too much criticism for what it's trying to be, okay? Considering all the behind the scenes drama, I think this movie actually came out very well. But even putting that aside, this movie obviously isn't trying to be a big Star Wars epic that advances the Skywalker saga in a big significant sort of way, okay? This movie is obviously just trying to be a fun heist adventure film where you see Han Solo's backstory a little bit and we go through space, okay? People give this film way too much flack. It deserves to be more well liked by the general audience of Star Wars fans, okay? I do think it has its problems, right? I do think the story structure is a little sloppy at points, but overall, I think it's enjoyable, okay? And it's not reaching for the same goals as your sequel trilogy movies, so you really shouldn't be giving it the same criticisms as the sequel trilogy movies. Coming in at number 6 is gonna be The Force Awakens. I also think this movie takes in way too much criticism from the fans. Listen, I understand that it has its problems. I understand that it does sort of piss all over the Skywalker saga, but I also think it sort of just did the best it could at launching a new Star Wars trilogy, okay? You do sort of have to go back into old plot lines and sort of shake some things up to make it interesting to the audience. Maybe we didn't like the way they shook it up or the plot lines it did shake up, right? Like having Han Solo be related to Kylo Ren and then having Han Solo die, right? People didn't like that, but I do think that there are enough good things in the movie to forgive those kinds of decisions that were made. I think this movie is very accessible and entertaining in a way that none of the other Star Wars movies really are, okay? And a lot of people are going to be upset when I say this movie does something better than all the other Star Wars movies, but I actually think it does, okay? It doesn't ever stop, okay? It takes you on this roller coaster ride. It builds up, right? And then it sort of just lets go, and you go through all these amazing action scenes that are full of jokes, and it feels sort of like a Marvel movie at times, okay? And I sort of like that, okay? I like that vibe. And it never stops for boring political meetings, right? It never stops so that we can talk about the characters' feelings for an extended period of time. We don't really want any of that. So I think it might go a little too fast at parts, okay? It doesn't really stop to sort of appreciate the world that it's in, which is a problem for me, but I do think that it is very entertaining and accessible, and I think that's definitely a plus for this movie. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of valid criticisms, okay? There are way too many plot conveniences. Like I said before, it does sort of disrespect the Skywalker saga with having Han Solo's character completely revert to a rogue who only cares about himself, having him break up with Leia, having him die, and also the plot is way too similar to A New Hope, okay? A lot of people like to say, oh, well, it's an homage, right? It's technically not a copy, but they copy every single plot beat just in a not as good way, so it feels like you're taking in something that you've already taken in, but just less good, okay? It's not bad, it's just not as good as A New Hope, so why would I watch this movie when I could just go watch A New Hope? After this comes Rogue One. I think this is a vastly underrated movie. A lot of people like to say, oh, well, only the second half is good, and the first half is really not good, and the second half just tricked people into thinking the whole movie is good. And I think that's true. That is absolutely true. The first half of this movie is not very well made, okay? Visually, I don't think it looks as good as the second half. The story is very all over the place, and none of the characters are very defined, right? But as we move into the second act, I honestly think this is some of the best Star Wars that we ever have gotten, okay? This is my favorite Star Wars Disney movie. I think it's the only one that respects the Skywalker saga and respects the rest of the universe while also bringing something new to the table, right? A lot of people like to say, oh, well, it's just filling in a gap. Yeah, it is, but it does it in a very creative way that is unpredictable, right? The characters die at the end. Like, that's never happened in a Star Wars movie. That rarely ever happens in movies about heroes, okay? And I think that is very interesting, and I love that it's explored in a Star Wars movie, which is a franchise that is known for having very simple moral standards, right? It never really explores the morally gray of the universe, just good versus bad. And this movie sort of brings in that gray part of Star Wars, which I like. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith is an amazing movie, in my opinion, okay? I think it suffers from a lot of things that the other prequels suffer from. Poorly done CGI that isn't integrated the best into the scenes. It's definitely better than the previous 2 prequels, but it's still not great. Very bad dialogue, okay? That is so hard to get through. Bad pacing, too many just meetings about politics that go on for way too long. Palpatine's plan is way too convoluted and not very interesting in my opinion. So it has its problems, but it also does a great job at exploring the character of Anakin Skywalker. My biggest complaint about these prequel movies is that this is the only one that actually sees Anakin turning to the dark side, right? The other ones don't really see him doing that, but this one does. And I really like that, but I feel like that should have been done in all 3 of these movies. All 3 of these movies should have been showing Anakin's internal struggle with the dark and the light, and this entire movie should have really just been him going over the edge, okay? With Padme almost about to die, right? This movie should have been him trying so hard to stick with the Jedi, but then in the end falling to the dark side. But this movie has to set up that he's a good guy and then do the work of all 3 of these movies in just one movie, and it feels very rushed. So I do like a lot of elements of the movie. I think the Order 66 sequence is amazing. There's some great lore that's introduced about the Star Wars universe in this movie. So while this movie does suffer from a few things I think all the prequels suffer from, it is still nevertheless a very good movie and a solid entry in the Star Wars saga. Coming in at number 3 is going to be Return of the Jedi. My personal favorite of the original trilogy, but it's very clearly not the best, okay? I like this one, but I do think that the entire first act feels like it's a different movie, okay? It feels like a good movie, but it doesn't make complete sense and it feels too disconnected from the second 2 acts. The second 2 acts are really about Luke's struggle, right? Trying not to give in to his temptation and his anger, and that's all great, but it's not connected at all to the first half. They have to rush to set up the throne room sequence, this final space battle, everything with the Ewoks, right? That all sort of feels like it's being rushed due to the fact that they didn't have a first act to set up the movie because they were busy tying up a cliffhanger from The Empire Strikes Back. Coming in second place is going to be A New Hope. I've changed my opinion on this movie. I know in a previous video I said that I think A New Hope is better than Empire, but I've changed my mind, okay? It's official. I think Empire is a little better. Not because I think A New Hope is bad, I just think Empire is a little better, okay? But A New Hope does a great job at introducing Star Wars. It's a joy to watch, okay? It's so entertaining, and it was revolutionary in Hollywood, and it did so much for the film industry, and it's just such a nicely told story that experiments with so many new things and ideas. Always great to go back and watch, and a great predecessor to The Empire Strikes Back, which is the movie that comes in first place. The Empire Strikes Back just takes everything great about A New Hope and just takes it to another level, okay? It just ratchets up the stakes, it ratchets up the character depth, right? It makes you feel so much more for these characters, not that you didn't feel for them in the previous movies, but this movie really deepens that, okay? And it really gives everybody a drive. It furthers the arcs of Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, right? All your main characters, and it does a great job, of course, at portraying the relationship between Vader and Luke, okay? There's so much great stuff in this movie. That's why it's coming in first place, and there's nothing really bad I can say about it, okay? All the other movies, I can sort of say, okay, well, that one just was outright bad. That one's too slow, too many meetings about politics, bad CGI, but there's none of that here, okay? There's literally nothing that I can say is bad about this movie, okay? This movie is great, and it does a great job at building upon everything in A New Hope and adding more. So that's why it's coming in first place. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more content on the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I hope to see you back next time I publish a video.